Alpha Pack, Sports Nation. We the one that'll rise to the occasion, bringing in the action and it's blazing. We the only one, Alpha Pack, Sports Nation. Coming to you live and direct. This is not a game or not a test, giving you the game real solid like a vet.
Imagine stepping onto a basketball court, staring down your opponents, and knowing deep in your bones that no matter what happens over the next 40 minutes, your team simply does not break.
It's a terrifying prospect for anyone playing against them.
Oh, absolutely. And that is the reality for the Texas Southern Tigers. Today, we're unpacking just a jaw-dropping statistic. 24 wins, 6 losses overall.
Yeah.
And a flawless, completely untouched 18-0 record in the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
Which is just
18-0 wire to wire.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Right. The Alpha Pack Sports Network just released this deep dive into this exact march to greatness. It's titled The Undefeated Standard. And, it is a truly fascinating read.
It really is.
And Texas Southern, they've just advanced in the SWAC tournament. But our mission today isn't just to rattle off basketball scores for you. We're going to break down exactly how a team goes completely undefeated in conference play.
Right, the actual mechanics of it.
Exactly. And we're looking to answer a much bigger question for you. Can an airtight, intentionally engineered culture actually overcome pure, raw talent?
It's a phenomenal premise for a deep dive. And to truly appreciate what we're looking at today, we need to establish just how incredibly rare this kind of run actually is.
Because people might just see the numbers and shrug.
Exactly. Going undefeated in any Division I league is, it's practically unheard of in the modern era of sports. You're dealing with travel fatigue, minor injuries,
Opposing teams treating you like their own personal Super Bowl.
Right, because everybody wants to be the one to knock off the undefeated team. And just the sheer mathematical probability of having a terrible shooting night.
Oh, for sure. The variance in basketball is huge.
Exactly. So to run the table and go 18-0 against conference rivals who, keep in mind, know your playbook inside and out.
They scout you every single week.
Yeah. That requires something far beyond just having a roster of good players. It requires a psychological infrastructure that is virtually bomb-proof.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because Alpha Pack's coverage immediately points us to the architect of this incredible run, right? Coach Frank Taft.
Yes.
And what struck me right away is his framing. When Taft stepped up to the podium to explain this undefeated season, he didn't boast about his brilliant tactical mind.
Not at all.
His core philosophy was just 3 words. It's the players.
Which sounds so simple.
Right. Usually when a coach says that, it's just, standard press conference humility.
Yeah.
But Alpha Pack details the grueling specifics of what that philosophy actually looks like on the ground.
The physical reality of it.
Yeah.
Right.
We're talking about 6 a.m. workouts before the sun is even up. We're talking about exhaustive extra film sessions, breaking down these micro movements on the court.
Which is exhausting mentally.
Exactly. And these intense weekly mental toughness challenges.
Yeah.
It's a philosophy of built, not bought. But I have to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Go for it.
Doesn't every single Division I college basketball program have early morning workouts and watch film?
Oh, absolutely.
So what makes Taft's approach so uniquely effective that it results in an 18-0 record?
That is the crucial distinction to make right there. Yes, everyone wakes up early, everyone lifts weights, but the psychology behind Coach Taft's version of intentional development is entirely different.
How so?
Well, it's not just about getting physically stronger or, say, improving a jump shot through repetition. It's about manufacturing adversity in a controlled environment.
Manufacturing adversity.
Right. The goal isn't just physical exhaustion, it's progressive evolution. Taft is systematically desensitizing his players to panic.
Wow.
He's hacking their baseline stress response.
So it's less about building muscle and more about building a tolerance for chaos.
Exactly. Think about those weekly mental toughness challenges the coverage highlighted.
Right.
When a coach purposefully puts a team through those specific high-stress scenarios, they are building a highly specific reservoir of resilience.
They're banking it for later.
Precisely. You aren't relying on sheer luck or waiting for a momentary burst of motivation when a real crisis hits on the court. You've evolved to handle it.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
The Alpha Pack coverage noted that the team didn't just win games this season. They evolved week after week.
And that's the key word, evolved.
Yeah. And if we apply this to a broader context for you listening, consider how intentional progressive pressure functions in your own life or work. right? In any high-stakes environment.
It translates perfectly.
When a team actively chooses to tackle their most difficult, frustrating problems head-on, when they put themselves through their own version of a 6 a.m. mental toughness workout, the actual crises down the line feel incredibly manageable.
They've already seen worse in practice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But building that reservoir of resilience in an empty gym is one thing.
Sure.
What absolutely fascinated me in this coverage is how that actually translates when the clock's ticking down in a real live game.
A transition from practice to performance.
Right. It's wild to read about how this team functions in late-game, high-pressure situations. Close games simply do not rattle them.
They really don't.
Pxck observed a team that is virtually immune to the exact kind of pressure that causes other incredibly talented teams to completely fall apart in the final 2 minutes.
What's fascinating here is how Coach Taft engineers that specific immunity.
Yeah, how does he do it?
When he's asked about pressure, he doesn't talk about breathing exercises or ignoring the hostile crowd. He talks about his concept of family over everything.
Okay, now again, that sounds like a total locker room cliche.
Doesn't it?
Right, I think I've seen that painted on the wall of every high school gym in the country.
Exactly. It's a very common slogan. But Taft weaponizes it.
Weaponizes a slogan.
Yes, he changes the focal point of the pressure itself. He explains that when a player is playing for the guy standing right next to him,
Rather than for himself.
right, rather than playing to pad his own personal stats or to secure a better professional contract down the line or just to gain clout on social media, when that shift happens, that player's entire relationship with pressure fundamentally changes.
But how so? Because the pressure to not let your team down feels like it would be even heavier than the pressure to succeed for yourself.
It is heavier, but it's a completely different kind of weight. It shifts the burden from a place of individual anxiety.
Like, what if I look bad?
Exactly. What if I look bad? What if I fail? It moves from that anxiety to a place of profound responsibility and connection.
Oh, that's an interesting distinction.
Anxiety paralyzes you. Responsibility grounds you. You aren't worried about your own ego. You're just utterly committed to executing your role so your brother doesn't fail.
And they were just giving locker room speeches about this family over everything concept either.
Yeah.
The methodology is intensely physical.
Very much so.
The coaching staff drills this into their bodies. They practice conditioning under extreme fatigue.
Yes.
They run situational scrimmages where the team is deliberately put down by several points late in the game, and they're forced to claw their way back. And they hold these really raw accountability sessions.
Right, and that goes back to your earlier point about whether simulating pressure actually works. The brilliance of that methodology is the internal simulation of high stakes.
Okay.
When you're constantly subjected to situational scrimmages where you're already physically exhausted, you're down by 5 points, and you know for a fact you're going to be held strictly accountable by your peers in a film session the next day.
That sounds intense.
It is. But that intense environment becomes your normal baseline.
So by the time they're in a real game, the chaos feels routine.
Precisely. By simulating that high pressure internally on a Tuesday afternoon in an empty practice facility, the external pressure of a hostile arena in March feels completely ordinary.
Wow.
The bright lights and the screaming fans don't faze them because they've already survived far more demanding scenarios engineered by their own coaching staff.
That makes total sense.
By the time March hits, pressure feels normal. And a team that feels perfectly normal under immense season-ending pressure is a remarkably dangerous team.
Speaking of dangerous, you really can't have a team that operates like this without someone setting the temperature in the room. Every great team has a tone setter.
Always.
For Texas Southern, the Alpha Pack coverage shines a massive spotlight on a player named Marcus Sykes. Coach Taft specifically describes him as the emotional leader of the locker room.
Yeah, the heart of the team.
Right. He says Sykes possesses that rare, unteachable it factor. When he speaks, or, more importantly, when he acts, the entire roster rallies around him.
Yeah.
But having an emotional leader isn't totally unique. So what makes Sykes the linchpin for an undefeated run?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it becomes clear that pure talent alone absolutely does not create an 18-0 season.
Right.
You can have a roster completely stacked with 5-star recruits, but without internal alignment, that talent will eventually fracture under stress.
Yeah.
The true catalyst for a run like this is presence. Yes. When your best, most talented player is simultaneously your hardest worker and your loudest, most emotionally invested leader, the entire power dynamic of the locker room fundamentally shifts.
Okay, it completely eliminates excuses for everyone else on the roster.
Exactly. If the guy with the most natural talent is the one diving headfirst onto the hardwood for loose balls at 6 a.m., the role players naturally fall into line.
They have to.
The standard enforces itself. The coaches don't even have to yell anymore because the social contract of the team is being dictated by the players themselves.
And you listening, think about this in your own life. Whether it's a locker room, a corporate boardroom, or a startup you're building. When you have one person whose actions perfectly match their words, it creates this magnetic pull toward excellence.
It elevates everyone.
Exactly.
Well,
Marcus Sykes isn't just a skilled basketball player in this narrative. He's the physical embodiment of the exact culture Taft is trying to build. He makes the undefeated standard a tangible thing the rest of the team can see and emulate.
and it's vital to note that maintaining this culture of excellence does not mean cultivating a culture of delusion.
Oh, that's a great point.
In fact, keeping that edge requires the exact opposite approach.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because human nature dictates that an 18-0 conference record would give a team permission to pound their chests and claim they're invincible.
They've earned the right to brag a little, sure.
Right. They've literally beaten everyone in their path. But Coach Taft does something completely counterintuitive. Despite this flawless run, he doesn't pretend his team is perfect.
Not at all.
He practices what can only be described as radical honesty. He openly and publicly admits their specific weaknesses.
Yes.
He points out, to anyone who will listen, that Texas Southern struggles with rebounding and they struggle with shooting.
Which is a remarkable display of vulnerability from a leader who is technically undefeated in his league.
So why do it?
Let's analyze why this is a strategic masterstroke rather than a liability. By explicitly acknowledging these flaws, Taft achieves two critical things. First, he maintains absolute credibility with his players.
They know he's watching the same game they are.
Exactly. He isn't sugarcoating reality or drinking his own Kool-Aid. He sees the cracks in the foundation and he points them out.
But isn't there a risk there? I mean, by publicly broadcasting that his team can't rebound or shoot consistently, isn't he just handing future opponents the ultimate scouting report? He's basically telling them exactly how to beat Texas Southern.
It seems risky, but that's actually the second critical piece of the strategy.
Yeah.
Taft explicitly identifies rebounding and shooting because those are the two exact metrics that win sudden death tournament games. You can survive a regular season game with bad shooting if you hustle, but in March, if you can't rebound, you go home.
Period.
By keeping those specific vulnerabilities front and center, he keeps an 18-0 team incredibly hungry.
He doesn't let them get comfortable.
He actively prevents the complacency that usually destroys undefeated teams. He's using their imperfections as fuel to keep them evolving rather than letting them rest on their 18-0 laurels.
There's a quote in the Alpha Pack coverage that really stopped me in my tracks regarding this.
Which one?
Taft says that if they can just clean up those two specific areas, the rebounding and shooting, we may shock the world.
Oh, that's a powerful statement.
Isn't it? It's a fascinating pivot from vulnerability straight into foundational confidence.
Yes.
It's not arrogance. We've all seen arrogant teams. Arrogance ignores flaws. Arrogance assumes you're going to win just because you have the best jersey on the court.
Right.
This is pure foundational belief. He's effectively saying, I know exactly where we are broken, and I know exactly how dangerous we will be when we finally fix it.
That distinction between arrogance and foundational belief is essential to understanding this team's psychology.
It really is.
Arrogance expects to win because of who you are. Foundational belief expects to win because of the work you've put in to fix what is broken. Yeah.
Taft knows the core foundation is incredibly solid. The culture is there. The mental toughness is there. The emotional leadership from Marcus Sykes is there.
All the pieces are in place.
If they just tighten the tactical screws on those two areas, they'd transform from a great mid-major story, a smaller athletic program punching above its weight, into an absolute national nightmare for whoever draws them in a bracket.
And that perfectly sets up the massive debate that the Alpha Pack Sports Network brings up at the end of their coverage.
The NCAA debate.
Yes, it's the great NCAA debate, and it is a fascinating structural problem in college sports.
It really is.
Now, we want to lay this out impartially for you, strictly presenting the argument raised by the source material. The central controversy is this. Texas Southern has dominated the SWAC wire to wire.
18-0 in conference play.
Exactly. 24-6 overall. But college basketball operates on a sudden death conference tournament system.
Texas Southern has just advanced in the Pxck tournament, but if they somehow have a fluke bad night and don't win that specific tournament, should they be penalized? Should a team with an 18-0 regular season conference record be left out of the national NCAA tournament picture entirely just because they lost one game in March?
This raises an important question about how we evaluate success and merit, not just in college athletics, but in any complex system.
A massive question.
There's a deep structural tension here between the flawless execution of a long-term body of work, which is what an 18-0 regular season represents, and the sudden death, high-variance nature of a postseason tournament.
Right, because you're comparing a 4-month sample size of sustained excellence against a single 40-minute window where literally anything can happen.
Anything.
A referee makes a bad call, your star player twists an ankle, or the opposing team just happens to hit 10 crazy three-pointers.
Exactly. And Coach Taft and Pxck make their stance incredibly clear here. The body of work matters.
It has to count for something.
The argument is that going completely undefeated in any Division I league is so mathematically and physically difficult that dominating a league wire to wire deserves national respect and a postseason bid, regardless of the outcome of one single high-variance game in a conference tournament.
Right.
The foundation built over months of grueling work shouldn't be invalidated by a 40-minute anomaly.
It's a very compelling argument. If you build an airtight culture and prove it 18 times in a row, you've earned your seat at the table.
Absolutely.
But the Pxck coverage pivots to an even more compelling question beyond just whether they should get into the national tournament.
What happens when they get there?
Exactly. The real question is, if they do get there, how does this specific Texas Southern team match up? Can a culture forged in a mid-major conference genuinely translate to a deep March run against the massive, high-seeded powerhouse programs?
And that is the ultimate stress test of Coach Taft's philosophy.
It really is.
Can this meticulously engineered internal culture actually stand up to external giants? Because the profile of the Texas Southern Tigers, as summarized in the source, is the absolute definition of a dangerous threat.
Let's recap exactly what makes them so lethal based on this deep dive.
Okay.
They have a crystal clear identity. They know exactly who they are.
Yes.
They have fierce, undeniable emotional leadership in Marcus Sykes holding the locker room together.
Crucial.
They have incredibly honest coaching from Frank Taft that refuses to ignore their flaws, specifically targeting their rebounding and shooting.
They're always improving.
They demand weekly progressive growth rather than just coasting on their talent. And perhaps most importantly, they have absolutely zero panic under pressure because they've simulated that exact pressure every single week since the preseason.
The coverage concludes with a really powerful thought based on all of that.
What's that?
When you combine all of those elements, an underdog essentially becomes a predator.
Oh, I love that framing.
An 18-0 record built on those specific pillars isn't a fluke, it's a foundation. If their rebounding and shooting actually show up at the right time, like Taft warned, a high seed is going to have very serious problems handling them.
It completely flips the script. The high seed might have the better television contract and the 5-star recruits, but they might completely shatter when they realize the mid-major team they're playing simply refuses to fold under pressure.
It's a brilliant synthesis of what makes this level of competition so captivating. But it also leaves us with a profound concept to consider.
Let's hear it.
Coach Taft brilliantly engineered internal pressure to make his team completely immune to external pressure. He built a psychological fortress for his players.
We definitely did.
But I want to leave you, the listener, with the final lingering question to ponder on your own, stepping just beyond the mechanics of the source material to look at the ultimate test of this philosophy. When you step onto the absolute highest stage and you face an opponent that possesses an equal level of culture and mental toughness, but they have superior physical size, speed, and raw athletic talent.
The ultimate mismatch.
Exactly. Does psychological preparation remain the ultimate equalizer? Or is there eventually a hard physical ceiling to what mental toughness alone can overcome?
That is the perfect question to leave hanging in the air. It really challenges everything we think we know about the balance between mind and body and between engineered culture and raw talent.
It's something to really think about.
We want to thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive to unpack the incredible, undefeated journey of the Texas Southern Tigers. We've looked at the specific mechanics of building culture, the strategic power of radical honesty, and the architecture of true pressure.
It's been a great discussion.
Whatever arena you're stepping into next, keep building your own foundation, hold yourself to that undefeated standard, and above all, stay curious.
Alpha Pack, Sports Nation. We the one that'll rise to the occasion, bringing in the action and it's blazing. We the only one, Alpha Pack, Sports Nation. Coming to you live and direct. This is not a game or not a test, giving you the game real solid like a vet.